Oh, that's got to be one of the greatest intros to any YouTube series of all time. It is the Jump Show, but not only is it the Jump Show today, we're crossing with Let's Talk Racing. So there aren't just 3 ugly mugs, we've added 2 more to the equation. Yeah, aye, indeed. Andrew, Blair White and Josh Stacey are joining myself, Dan Overall, and Jake Price. How are you, lads? Live from the Racing TV studios there.
Yeah, we look a little bit beaten and bruised today, to be honest. It's been a long old 12-hour shift, but the dedication to the game, dedication to this live stream, and the dedication to finally call you out on air was too much.
Do you know, I have put my armour on because I'm expecting a serious battering. But at the same time, I'm very confident about my tip. So, you know, you win some, you lose
Andrew,
some.
I swear to you now, he wasn't going to come on. He was that petrified of the abuse he was going to get. And rightly so.
Well, we just had a comment that said ABW looks half cut. I can tell you that he actually isn't. He actually is sober.
The comments are about Andrew drinking, which is a concern.
It's brilliant. This is a slightly different Cheltenham preview to the ones that you might have seen already, because we're not just concentrating on graded races. In fact, we're not really concentrating on them at all. Instead, we're looking at the handicaps, an area of Cheltenham perhaps hasn't really been delved into quite so much as other areas. So without further ado, should we get started? I should probably, Dan, actually, introduce Jake as well. Jake Price there. How are you, Jake?
Hello, boys. Yes, I'm good. Looking forward to this one. Let's get stuck in, I guess.
Let's get stuck in, indeed. I'm looking forward to hearing some big price fancies alongside some small ones. I've got plenty of big ones, I have to say.
You're 2 minutes in.
I apologise.
You're confident about your tip, and now you like plenty of big ones.
I know.
Welcome to the Jump Show.
Innuendo bingo, isn't it? It really is. Right. Let's get going, because the Ultima Handicap Chase is the first handicap at the Cheltenham Festival, as it always is. It's a extended 3-mile chase, and it always features a really hot field. This year is no difference. I'm actually going to start with Andrew's selection for this, because Andrew's giving me a look there. But the thing about this race is that the British are coming, because we've got such a great record in it. And I think, Andrew, if you're going to try and win it this year, you're up against it, because, again, the British have got some pretty good chances.
Yeah, very much so. Look, it's a race that I still end up somehow backing an Irish horse on the day in the race, even though I know that they can't win it. I think Discorama was the closest they've had in the last few years. The Goffer looks probably the main chance, but I would thought he'd have been taken off his feet in a 3-mile handicap chase on decent ground around Cheltenham. I just don't know about his jumping early on in races. And to be honest, me and Josh probably did our dough on the Kim Muir. I'm not really going to forgive that. I don't want to step on toes, because I know Dan was the founding member of the Lord Accord fan club for this race. I like that angle. I think he's got a decent chance. I like the Cleve Hurdle angle as well. The other horse I think that won't be out of the money at a big price is T Clipper, especially given that the ground's going to be decent enough. He was 4th in the race last year. He's similar enough mark. He's 20-25 to 1. He was what I came down on. But you know, when there's a handicap that an English horse is going to win, you know I won't be backing the winner.
Do you know what? Never a true word has been spoken, I think.
No,
Dad.
finally some honesty.
Are you happy or unhappy that Andrew Blair White fancies Lord Accord?
That's a good question. I'm slightly concerned, because I swear, whenever I agree with Andrew or Josh, it always tends to go horrifically wrong. Well, I feel like we're at our best when we disagree massively.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever agreed with them about anything, to be honest.
No, I'm getting that impression from what you were saying.
I think that's going to be the same tonight.
Oh, I'd say, we've got 9 races. There will be no agreement whatsoever there.
Yeah.
But I do like Lord Accord. I'm sticking with him. Obviously, I was... Every time I've been a founding member of a fan club for any race, again, never gone well. Fantastic Ass last year being the main example, but in this exact race as well. I
thought he had a good chance as well. There you go.
He did. But then I backed him, so it all went wrong. But Lord Accord, he's got a lot going for him, I think, in a race where I don't think there are many exceedingly well handicapped. I think the only one I would really look at the top there, I think maybe has unexposed potential at this trip would maybe Nassalam at this stage. But I think it would be borderline unprecedented for a horse on his first go at 3 miles to win a handicap chase of this nature. I think he's always looked like he'd wanted that. Like, it was a Juvenile, it was a staying Juvenile, and obviously they tend to want further. Cocoa Beach, etc., always tend to thrive further later in their careers. But I don't think there's much there that's got plenty in hand. And I think Lord of Court off 137 has always threatened to be a very good horse. Obviously, Neil Mulholland traded Druid's nephew to win this race. Very similar preparations, both ran in the Ladbrokes Trophy down the field that day. I think you can forgive Lord of Court's effort that day because I think it was his third big 3-mile handicap chase start in about 4 weeks. And he ran respectably enough from the front, just tired late on. The Cleve Hurdle prep, he could have run better, but it was purely a prep run on ground he would have hated. He'll be at the bottom of the weights. He's got a history of providing winners that Cleve Hurdle. And Tempor 2 at the second attempt also took that route. I think there's a lot going for him, and he's still 16-1. I think that's reasonable enough value at this stage.
The trouble with you is that whenever you make a case for a horse, it's so convincing that I just immediately think that's got.
I've trapped a lot of people with that.
Yeah, it's very impressive, I have to say. Jake, Ultima, what's your fancy?
Yeah, so I put up 3 under through 5 on the show. 16's looking like a decent enough bet now. He hits loads of the recent trends, so he's a second season chaser, British trained, ran in the Hennessy, ran and has even won at Cheltenham before. He could potentially be wearing cheek pieces for the race as well. I did ask Connections earlier and they said that they haven't made a decision yet, but that would be interesting.
He never rests.
You've got to get the info for the lads here.
Yeah, no, I wrote that.
And yeah, he was beaten on his latest start in the classic chase where he didn't get home, which is the same path as the conditional and Correct Rambler in recent years. So, it's a tried and tested route. He travelled and jumped really well for 3 miles, so don't see any problems with that. And Kutapan Kalonges, who finished 4th, also won the other day in the Class 2 handicap chase at Utoxeter. So he's been given a mark of 150. Obviously, he got dropped £1 for that run. It's not a gimme. It's a fairly high mark, obviously. But he would only have to carry 11 stone 5 if Sam Brown runs, which I think makes it fair enough. And I will mention Into Overdrive as well. I've had a little saver on him. He's rated 147, but his last 2 runs he was second to Lon Press, who's 170, and he beat Sounds Russian, who's 161. Is going to run in the Gold Cup. So yeah, I've given him a bit of a squeak as well. They're both like spring ground if we get it.
I've also had a nibble on Into Overdrive as well.
You have. Do you know why though? He's a bloody good horse.
Are you a fan?
Oh, I like Into Overdrive. Yeah, I'm a big fan. Yeah, Josh, what do you think, mate?
I'd be happy to take Into Overdrive on. I think Cheltenham form in this race has proven to be key. He's never been to the track. He's never been in a massive field, and that would be a big. I know his form behind Lompresso this year and winning the Royal America is good, but I just think that's a big negative. In October, in our Chepstow preview, I really liked a horse called Lord Accord. And he didn't run there. And then I left him alone because he ran the following week at Cheltenham. I thought he's not going to win there. And he went and dotted up. And then I haven't backed him at all throughout the season. But I watched a video on the Jump Show maybe a month or 2 ago. And there was a very compelling case. And I warmed back up to him. I do think he is on a workable mark of 137. I think he'll definitely get in as well. I'd imagine bottom weight here might be 135, 136. And I really like his chances. I think he's got room to work with. I don't think he won the strongest race in the world in October. I think that's pretty fair to say. But right at the bottom of the weights, I think he's got a big chance, and I'll follow Dan in with that one.
And that race was poor. But I tell you what, anyone who's interested, watch the way he was in front for a long way. Everything that challenged him came from off the pace because he helped set a strong pace, and he really kicked on again. So as much as he was beating... it was Fergal's horse, who wants about 15 miles, I think he beat, who hasn't won a race since. But he kicked on again up the hill, and that's always a very admirable quality when looking for a Cheltenham handicap horse. So I'm still very keen.
Do you know what? That's one quality that my fancy doesn't really have.
Unbelievable.
Which is, do you know what? I've not even said the name yet, and Andrew's got his head in his hand, so this is going to be exciting.
You go against, you take trends, you take stats, and you do everything you can to go the other end of things.
No, I don't. I kind of agree to an extent, but at the same time, in this Ultima handicap chase, I'm going with a British horse who has run very well in the race in the past, and that is Oscar Elite.
Oh, no.
Fair enough.
Josh, do you know what? Josh is nodding, which I really like. Clear.
He's a terrible horse.
Try and get out of that. He's trying to get out of that with this cardboard in the way. Good luck with that.
Hands walked out. No, I think they're being harsh on you here, Bully. Let us know your thoughts.
Yeah, no, look.
I think based off what I'm predicting, I suspect that's going to be one of the ones I agree with the most. So I'm going to give it to him.
Look,
because I just know there's going to be rash ones that I'm going to have to pile into later.
Andrew, if you're having, Andrew, Andrew, if you're having a go at me for a horse that's 10, 12 to 1 for the Ultima, imagine what you're going to do when I put up a 33 to 1 shot with the Kim Muir.
Oh, that's what I'm saying. I'm not having a go. I think it's a relatively decent case.
Yeah.
Well, let me make the case, because this is a horse who, as many will know who enjoy the Cheltenham Festival, have seen him run very well in the race last year. He was third in the Ultima, and Harry Cobden went very wide on him the entire way. And I have to say, I will say I backed him last year. He was 40 to 1. And
shrewd.
Well, I would have been shrewd if he'd won. I mean, each way money is each way shmoney. But he did run a very good race, and he looked like he was going to win 2 out because he hit the front. But the problem with him is that, as all of you know on this stream, is that he can be a little bit of a donkey in the finish. He doesn't like to put it all in.
Bit.
Well, he can be. I mean, I know he won the Reynolds stand last time, and that fell apart. But what I want to see this time is Oscar Elite being held on to as late as possible. Last year, he hit the front coming round the home turn, having gone 5 wide the entire way, and he just didn't quite get home. He was passed in the end by both Correct Rambler and with Jericho Rock, wasn't it?
I think a cameraman ran slightly quicker as well on the 100 yards.
I mean, he didn't finish with much gusto, but I'm hoping that this year he comes into it in really good form on the Reynolds stand chase. He's up £4 for that, which isn't heinous, and the ground's going to be in his favour. He likes Cheltenham. He was second in the Albert Bartlett. He ran very well in this last year. He's well handicapped. I hope the rider can just keep him honest for a little bit longer. That's what I would say.
I think it's a compelling case. Ignore them, Tom.
Yeah.
They just want to put you down early doors. I think he's got a chance. He would be in my shortlist of 3 or 4. Interesting looking into the comments. Lots of love for Nassalam. Lots of love for 335 into overdrive. Those at the top of the market we've been talking about. Should we go through Liam Slaney's question? He said, what do you think of the big breakaway? Lads, any thoughts?
He's not going Grand National.
He's not going to the Ultima.
He's going for this, is he?
I don't know.
I've not heard from the Tizzards, but
I thought he was just going Grand National, personally. I thought.
I mean, you could give him a chance, couldn't you, if he does run?
If any man's heard from connections, it's Jake Price.
That's true.
That's a good point. Yeah.
You're always in the DM. Jake, hit us with the truth.
I haven't heard, to be honest. I don't fancy him, so I haven't been looking into it. But I thought he's one for more staying trips these days, to be honest. So if something like the Grand National might be more his bag than an Ultima.
Okay, that's the Ultima done and dusted, really, I think. Let's move on then to the second handicap we're going to go through. We're going to go in chronological order to try and make it as easy as possible for you, but most of all, as easy as possible for us. And the next race we can talk about is the Boodles handicap hurdle, the Juvenile, of course, the old Fred Winter. And as usual, it's likely to be a very competitive race. Plenty in there unexposed, plenty in there coming with a couple of victories under their belts. Jake, come to you first. This is never easy, but a man of your caliber, I'm sure, is going to make it that little bit easier.
Well, it's a race where I've already had an early play in it, and it's not really panned out exactly how I want, and that's Jazzy Matty. Obviously, I put him up at 14 to 1 in the series. He's now about 16 to 1. Look, I think he's still got a chance. He's been given a mark of 125. You've got to forgive his last 2 runs, but if you assume that he wasn't off for those 2 runs, then he would have a chance. Obviously, he's got to improve massively. I do remember sat here last year and I said that Britska, who I went early on, had a chance, and he ended up finishing just about last. So, yeah, we'll see what happens with Jazzy Matty, but I think he's got a chance without having to make the running. Just sit in there and see what happens. Takal, I think he's got a favourites chance. The handicap has tried to make it as hard as possible for him, giving him a mark of 135, £7 higher than his Irish mark. But his third in the Grade 1 the last day is obviously a great performance. So he would be an obvious one and have a favourite chance. But yeah, I've played those 2 so far, and the 2 I've got my eyes on now are Biker and Common Practice. I think they've been well treated for the weights. Biker 128, Common Practice 132. So yeah, those 2 would be on my radar, but I won't be playing anything else until the day.
Well, Thomas Lloyd agrees with you, says Common Practice for me. Thanks, Thomas. Tekau all day for Craig, 9876. Joel Hughes says Samuel Spade each way. We've got a few interesting, different, ambiguous decisions there. But Jake, do you know what? I really hope, Jake, that Jazzy Matty runs a good race for you, because you've been banging that drum for so long. And I think if he doesn't, then it'll be very sad. But fingers crossed he does.
I think he'll improve. It's just, plenty of these have been laid out for it, haven't they? So it's how much improvement has he got in the bag.
He's a big, strong horse as well, and I'd say this has always been the plan. So I wouldn't be surprised if he was a £10 better horse at Cheltenham than he has shown this season.
Yeah, and keep the comments coming, by the way, everyone. It's really good to get your opinions. Talking of opinions, let's get the opinions of Let's Talk Racing, both Josh and Andrew. Josh, start with you for the Boodles.
Just to go back to the Ultima, Big Breakaway is going to Cheltenham. Jess Stafford very kindly his message. She said she spoke to Joe Tizard yesterday, and the Big Breakaway does go to Cheltenham. So those that fancy him, a big plus. I would be along the same lines as Jake. I think Bike is the interesting one. That race has obviously produced 3 of the last 4 of these winners, and as much as the winners have gone on to win the Boodles, I'm not a massive fan of Sir Alan. I think his mark is pretty fair. I thought Bike was really interesting. Travelled like a dream in that race at Nace, and what was interesting, I think he was backed into something like 6-4, and then drifted out to 3-1, 100-30. He then finished 3rd in a 6-runner race, so didn't place. I would say they didn't fancy him to place. They wanted him to run well without winning, which puts him spot on for this. I think his mark is very fair, and I think he goes over the big chance. I think the Charles Burns hype train will be banged a lot this week. Might be Shoot First in the Pertemps, might be a couple of other horses, and he could be one to start the week off with a flyer for him.
Good to see that Andrew's nodding in agreement there. Are you a fan of that one as well?
Yeah, I think you have to be. I think it would be remiss of anyone to be staring at these Charles Burns horses throughout the week and not think, he's not bringing them over for a deep gulp of fresh air. Like, he's going to bring a squad of 3-4 horses and they'll all have a sniff. So I'd be in agreement with that. I'd be in agreement that I wouldn't majorly fancy Sir Alan out of that race, to be honest. I think there's more unexposed horses in behind him that day that maybe weren't trying their hardest. The problem I have with this race, though, is it's very hard to get away from the favourite, and I don't want to put the favourite up at 4-1 because it's a poor price. But at the same stage, like, this horse could just be like this horse. If they didn't have the likes of Blood Destiny, Lossiemouth, would be in the Triumph Hurdle. It's not a bad horse. Won very snug at Christmas time, then ran okay when Lossiemouth and Gallimar went by him on the bend in at Leopardstown. Mark Walsh just stopped trying immediately. Like, there's no getting away from that. I know people have been hopping and hollering about 135. You could end up looking at this race the day after and go, geez, 135 was a steal. Because he could be a graded horse, to be honest. So, he could be a 145, 150 horse. I see one of the comments there saying that Takao could be a 150 horse, and I would tend to agree. I would give Biker a chance from that race at an each-way price, and I put up on our series Metamorpheus. It was a bit like Jake with Jazzy Matty. I'm not exactly beating the drum down saying that he's a great bet, but at 33-1, I think a strongly run race will suit him more. And you've seen stranger things happen than something turning up that doesn't have maybe the most compelling profile for this race. The likes of Vanera Charm, Jeff Kidder came into this race and you couldn't have really made a case at a big price. So I wouldn't put somebody off having, £5 each way on Metamorpheus at 33-1. I know they like him for the race. He was bought to run in the race, so I'm sure they'll have a decent chance.
Yeah, there'll be a fair few lurking in there. There always are, aren't there? I've got a few comments here, very much in favour of Risk Bell. Ronnie Frantz just said Risk Bell will go off favourite. You're clapping, Dan. I assume that you like that one as well.
I do. I really like Risk. And the thing is, I think she's been one of the ones who's been well back recently when the weights came out. Only got £4 up to 127. I think you look back at how she's been campaigned. Like, she was thrown in straight against Lossiemouth on her debut. Ran okay. And then second time again against Lossiemouth, given an extremely patient ride. To the point where no horse, even if they sprouted wings, would have got to the front pair. Like, just stayed on nicely. Very
diplomatic.
Absolutely. That was. Yeah. I'm trying my best.
Yeah, no, you're doing well.
And then all of a sudden, handicap debut, Dublin Racing Festival, in a race that has produced many a Cheltenham winner in the Mayor's Handicap Hurdle, 5-2 favourite as a 4-year-old, which doesn't happen very often because that race is normally full of some very decent types. I think Liberty Dance being one you were keen on.
I know.
Mayor's Hurdle.
Yeah. Don't want to talk about that, really.
No, sorry about that, but I had to mention it. But that's normally a hot race. And she went off favourite for it. Didn't get that far. I think she felt like the 5th. So it's too soon to go to know what she would have done. But the fact she was sent off favourite, I think, speaks volumes. I think 127, based on what she promises to do and what she did in France, is very fair. Obviously, another JP horse like Decau. I think there is a world in which she is the favourite come the off. I respect Decau. I think what he's actually done and what you can look at, especially the way he travelled at the Dublin Racing Festival, a lot to like. But I do think Risk Bell comes in there with a lot of untapped potential. Mares do pretty well in the Fred Winter as a rule. it wouldn't be a race that you could oppose them readily in. I really am a fan of Risco. And at a bigger price, Samuel Spade at 20-1.
Yeah, still a few mentions actually in the
Ben
comments.
Pauling, yeah. I mean, if you look at the weights, like he's going to get a stone sway with Perseus Way, and for basically a 3-length defeat.
Talking of which, Max Hardy's just said, do we know if Perseus Way is going there?
I think so.
Mm.
Yeah, I think Ben Pauling's got a couple enters actually, 2 new French recruits and Samuel Spade. But
Talking of French recruits, Ben Knight has just said Jipko at a big price. That is one of Ben Pauling's French recruits.
yeah, and I spoke to Gigi Banker who knows of his French racing. He wouldn't have been the kindest about Jipko, to be honest. He said it wasn't really one you could put all that much faith in, words to that effect. But Samuel Spade, on the other hand, I think he's the type. I wouldn't back him now at 20s because I think come the day, these British-trained juveniles that are almost readily dismissed literally will double in price on the day. I remember I put up Swinging London on one of these streams last year at 33s. He went off 80-1 and placed. Well, he got 6th. It was a place with some people.
Oh, come on.
Gee,
He placed in my book.
I remember my last account that got 6th place.
Oh, hopefully more. I remember the last ones tonight.
Also, I do have a quiz question for Dan. Who was the last horse to fall in that mare's handicap hurdle and win at Cheltenham?
Was it not Heaven Help Us, or did she not fall?
No.
Go on.
But old Mrs. Milner.
No,
Yeah.
there she is,
Got the right trainer, at least.
Yeah.
Criminally poor knowledge from a man on the TV.
We've got a question here from Sean White. Bo Zenith going to
Good
the
segue.
Boodles or the Triumph?
Doesn't run, apparently.
There you go.
Apparently goes straight to Aintree.
That makes sense to me, actually, I would say.
He's a big staying horse anyway. I wouldn't give him a squeak if he went here anyway. He'd get outpaced after about 3 hurdles.
Right, I'm going to put up a horse, actually, who ran in that Sir Alan race, but you didn't mention Andrew, who was second that day. That was Morning Soldier. Just waiting for the reaction there. Great, there's no reaction. That's good. Yeah, patience is a virtue.
What are you expecting me to do? It's
Well, I expect you to rinse me at every opportunity. Right, Morning Soldier, rated 80 on the flat, was decent horse on the flat. Needs quick round. That is a must about this horse. Runs behind Sir Alan and Blood Destiny. I think have shown that he doesn't like it softer, so hopefully the ground will be in his favour. His best run so far over hurdles was that second last time behind Sir Alan at Nace. He hit the front then, looked like he was going to go clear and win easily, and probably should have done, but he got outstayed inside the final half furlong going up that hill at Nace, and that would be a slight concern, but he has got a huge amount of pace being an ex-flat horse, so I think he'll need to be ridden a lot more conservatively at Cheltenham, but I do think the strong pace that's going to be almost certain in the Boodle is going to really play to his strength, and from that race, for me, Morning Soldier would have the best chance.
Can I just say one thing about that race?
Yeah.
It was 3 seconds slower than an 80-109 handicap on the same card.
Well, yeah, I mean,
5 lengths separated the first 5.
You can read.
But I think in terms of the impact it's had on the market, considering you've got Sir Alan, Biker, Morning Soldier, between 2nd and 5th favourite, I think it's had too much of an impact based on the recent record of the winners.
I think that's fair enough, but you can read a lot into times, can't you? And the fact that
Yeah.
Sir Alan won the race, and Sir Alan had very good form coming into
He
it.
had a good track position as well.
He
The one
did.
who had the best track position and disappointed was it Jazzy Matty?
Well, I better not mention that
Yeah.
to...
But with that in mind, to be fair, the one you'd have to mark up would be Metamorpheus, who was in
exactly
wrong
that. Yeah.
position.
But he's a right price for it, all things considered.
Yeah.
Like he's still 33s, and you've got Biker, Morning Soldier, who are probably weighted to have that form
Yeah,
of
you're taking a stingy enough price for what they've done.
Yeah, absolutely that. So I generally would not be backing any of those horses at the top of that market based on that run. I just think it's too short.
Just going to go through a couple of the comments here. Steve Moulton, Samuel Spade went right-handed once on the flat, first time out, all left-handed after that, yet to go left-handed over hurdles. Makes an interesting point there. That's a really interesting point. Jess Craven, McTeague only had one run after coming over from France, didn't show anything, has been off since, could be anything.
Saw the Mall Battle this weekend.
Yeah. Will Nusret run, says Matthew Feeney.
They said no initially, and now it seems like they're warming to it slightly, but I still think he'll probably just go to Punchestown. They said he
makes
might go
sense.
right-handed.
Yeah, makes sense. Bays Garung says, good land for the good people. There you go, Andrew.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, one of your disciples there. And we got a comment from Only Fools Love Horse Racing. Anyone?
He's written an essay. We don't need to go through that.
Wow.
Like, we've got 9 handicaps to cover here. I want to get out before midnight.
Yeah. I did say only fools love horse racing. It's actually only fools love horses racing, of course. So I apologise for getting that wrong. Ash,
amateur.
Who says anyone take a look at Common Practice for Joseph O'Brien? There've been a couple of comments about Common Practice, actually.
They were wrong. But there
you go, Ash. Sorry, mate. Right, let's move swiftly on. Next up is the Coral Cup, I believe. And
well done.
thank you very much.
I know we did. Yeah, I was trying to get it right.
There's a lot to remember, isn't it? And my fatigued brain trying to remember nine handicaps, whatever it is. But the Coral Cup is next. The Coral Cup is next up. Let's begin, shall we, with you, Dan?
Oh, okay, straight to me.
Do you know what I have to say? I was looking at this race quite in depth earlier on, and it is just the biggest minefield.
Well, yeah, I mean, the 4 of the last 5 winners are 20-1 plus come the day, so it's not a race I would be overly keen to get stuck on anything anti-post at the head of the market. One horse I'm very keen to oppose is Campron because everyone seems to love him, and to me, he looks like a horse who's completely out of love with racing.
No, I thought that as well.
Like, I get the angle. Like, I was on him last year and basically thought he has no chance as soon as the rain came because he's a good ground horse. He ran very admirably in the circumstances.
Aye. They spun you like a kipper there.
Yeah. Who needs enemies when you got friends like these?
I know where you're going, Dan, but JP Horse has been backed, fallen out of love with racing.
But you're forgetting one factor, Josh. Trained by Philip Hobbs, not Willie Mullins, not Gordon Elliott, not any of the trainers you'd associate with that kind of gambler.
I don't fancy him, but I'm just playing devil's advocate.
But I just can't see it. Like, even though it's been over 2 miles, literally, you look at the run the last day, and I think the Scottish Champion hurdle, he didn't jump a hurdle. I know it was over 2 miles. It was on his favoured good ground. He looked completely like a horse who didn't want to race.
Did he fall at the first?
He got brought. Well, the thing is, this is the thing. There's you can almost track where his love of racing disappeared. Sent over fences, hated it. First start back over hurdles, got brought down at the second in what was quite a nasty looking incident, and barely raised a leg since. Like, for me, in a race of this nature, he's borderline single-figure prices. I think that's ludicrous. Like, generally, absolutely ludicrous. Couldn't touch him with a barge pole at those prices. If Fear to Glory runs here, she would be my play. I think in the rotationary sphere that Nicky's playing with these mares, obviously you've got Marie's Rock, Epitaph, and Fear to Glory.
Rotationary sphere, that was lovely.
I know, that came out.
That was beautiful.
Yeah,
Eloquence.
Oh, thank you very much. Professional as always.
Yeah.
I just think there's no need to supplement her for a mare's hurdle. I think you've got reasonable enough horses to represent him there, either an Epitaph or Marie's Rock. Obviously, Marie's Rock might go stairs. There's a few things to balance out there. But I don't think in any world Fierce Rock rocks up there, even if she's the only representative, the second or the third, in which she would probably be shorter price than she would be for the Coral Cup, because she's an upwardly progressive mare. Nick Hedison's record in the Coral Cup is very good, as is his record with mares. I think last time out, it's probably only her second start over 2.5 miles on good ground, and she absolutely bolted up. A mark of 145 will demand more, but I think she has the kind of profile you'd look for here. And the fact that we're even contemplating the mare's hurdle for her would be a positive indication. So if she ran here, I'd be all over her. And then a couple of big prices who would appeal slightly. The first one is an Epic Song. So very similar to Fast or Slow in the fact that he bolted up over 2 mile free and then got dropped back to over 2 miles a couple of times and barely raised a leg or raised a gallop. Extremely similar profile. I think step back over to intermediate trip would see him a lot better effect. Obviously, same connections as Fast or Slow to the trainer and the owner. And also Pull Again Green.
That's why I started laughing.
Really?
Well, because I put this horse up at the beginning of the season as a horse to follow.
Oh,
yeah,
sorry about that.
It's not been great, is it? But
No.
I'm very happy that you put him down.
He didn't look a natural over fences. And
He hated it.
And also, I used to love a angle in this race that horses that were sent novice chasing then reverted back to here hit the frame at big prices often. It literally hasn't happened since I started pointing this out. But I think there's a chance it might happen here. Like, he's a good ground horse. You look back at some of his novice hurdle form, it's actually pretty solid. And I always thought there was something about him over the hurdles. Like, he had a bit of a finishing kick to him. He looked like a horse that was going places. Didn't look a natural over fences at all. 134, I think, is a fair mark. If he does get in and Thurgood runs him, I could see him running into a place as well. And I think he's at 33-1.
He's a better horse than 134. He was always going to.
He really should be.
We may well be a 135 horse, Tom. You're right.
He's got a pound in hand then. Well done, Dan.
The people are crying out for it. Jake, you've got some job to do here because highlighting all of those comments.
Yeah.
There's a lot about HMSC.
I've never seen such feeling. It's as if they're there on the side of.
Oh, you know what? HMS Seagull's getting a lot of chat here. We've got Lewis Spencer says
145 though, lads.
HMS Mustard, says Lewis.
No,
I mean,
because I've always called them HMS Good Thing, but the best one I've seen there is just HMS Collect. It's very easy. HMS Collect. It's one of the greatest comments I've ever seen. I just don't like. This has been a long-term aim. He's won the same race as Commander of Fleet last year. Goes on to win the Coral Cup. I don't see what more people want. You can scrunch around, pull again green this, pull again green that. Like, come on, like Dan. I think you're one of the greatest judges in the game. That's one of your worst selections of all time. There's no chance in this race. He gawks under pressure. He doesn't like big fields. HMS Seahorse. I got a text before he ran at Navan that he had thrived since losing his balls. That was the quote. I showed it to you guys, and he has. His jumping's gotten a lot better. His jumping was poor last year. I think it held him back in the Boodles. He ran a good race in fourth behind Gaelic Warrior and Brazil, who were two probably above average horses to usually bump into in a race like that. And he's won a big handicap the last day. He's up to 145. Wouldn't mind that whatsoever. I think he's got the class to be able to defy that. And as the fans are here, I'm just doing it for the fans at this stage. They want me to say it.
I can't see him at all.
It's like that meme of Bart in the middle of the class going, say it.
Say the line.
HMS Houdini. I think he's got a great chance. He's 10-1 best price. I think he just wins.
I'll tell you what. One of the comments has said from Lee says ABW letting the dogs out. So I mean, you know, there's a lot of chat going through there. I'm not very sure. Yeah, I mean, I don't even know what that means actually, but
It can't be good.
Yeah. Josh, what are you a fan of HMS Seahorse as well?
Yeah, I am.
I
have spent far too much time with Andrew, and he has completely converted me. Now, I think you've got the right profile for the race. He benefited from a step-up trip the last day. I think there's improvement to come. Probably wasn't 100% ready as well. So I think there's a lot to like. He definitely goes for the race, and yeah, I think you'll just love it.
Yeah, I mean, big calls here for HMS Seahorse from the Let's Talk Racing gang. Let's see what Jake Price of the Jump Show gang thinks. Jake, what do you reckon?
Yeah, I've got a couple of big prices I wanted to give a mention to. The first one is Beacon Edge at 20-1.
Knew it.
Now, he's got...
You did tell me.
Yeah, well, I had mentioned it to Dan before. I mentioned it to Andrew as well, I think, because I just wanted to get some second opinions on it to make sure I wasn't crazy. But he's got like a remarkably similar profile to Commander of Fleet, who obviously won the race last year. They both ran very well in a Grade 1 over 3 miles at Cheltenham before. So Commander of Fleet was obviously second to Miller Indo and the Albert Bartlett, and Beacon Edge was fourth to Florian Porter in the Stayers Hurdle. So they both have Cheltenham Festival form at Grade 1 level. They both went over fences and kind of lost their way a little bit, albeit Beacon Edge actually fell in to win a Drimore one day, which was quite amusing, really. But other than that, if you look at their actual runs for the season, they went into the Coral Cup as well. It's the exact same. So they both pulled up in the Christmas Hurdle. They were then both finished down the field in the Galmoy Hurdle, and then finished third in the Boyne Hurdle, which is when they dropped back and tripped to 2.5 miles. So Commander of Fleet last year was third behind the Devil's Coachman and Ashdale Bob, and Beacon Edge was third behind Blaze and Callum Meet and Greet. So I think they both had a very, very similar profiles going into the race, and they both had very similar preps. Commander of Fleet went up £1, Beacon Edge went up £2, a mark of 147. I don't think they even need to use a claimer like they did for Commander of Fleet last year. I think Brian Cooper will take the ride, and I think he'll go well. The other horse I did like at a price as well that I think is way too big is Anna Bonina at 33-1. Now, I know there's a lot of different views on the Covega Mares Hurdle form. People, throwing stones at it, and perhaps in a competitive Mares Hurdle, it's not good enough for that. But in terms of this Coral Cup handicap, I think it's actually got a chance. Queensbrook, obviously 145, and Brandy Love 146, and she split the pair of them, albeit getting some weight. It was her first run over 2.5 miles, so there still could be plenty of improvement to come. She's only 7 years old, despite the experience. We know she travels over here well because she won at Ayr. She won the Scottish Champion Hurdle off a mark of 130 just last year. So yeah, mares have a good record in the race, and I think she's too big at 33-1. So yeah, she would be a small play, but I think Beacon Edge would be my main one at the minute.
Love that, Jake. Really interesting stuff about Anna Bonino particularly. There's a lot of banter going on in the comment section at the moment. Max Hardy said, ABW is a gun under the camera in case Josh went against HMS. And Josh has replied, says, he is holding a gun to me under the desk. So there you go.
Mark's comment.
The reason there's only one arm in the frame.
Help.
Yes.
The
HMS Battle Over Doyen double. That's the nap.
Yeah.
Now we're talking.
We
I'll
won't make
retire
it
on
back
that
from
day.
Cheltenham if that what comes in. We'll be in big trouble.
Do you know what? My selection is the same as Jake's, Beacon Edge, for the Coral Cup. So I'm not going to go into more reasons. Well, I know. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Oh,
no.
33 is out. He's out
Head in hand moment.
Cash out.
Oh, love it. There you go, Jake. Nice penalty for it to carry.
Poor old Jake thought he'd gotten his second opinions, and now
the bookmakers had a big marketing meeting today and being like, we need to push a few horses out for Cheltenham. What we're going to do, and they're just sat here waiting for you to mention a horse, and each one just goes out 3 or 4 points.
Except Blood Destiny 2021 anti-post.
If you could say Jerry Cologne, that'd be great.
There's a lot of bookie propaganda in there. You have a lot of scarves and socks you didn't have a few weeks ago.
You collect the merch, don't you? You collect the bloody merch.
Yes.
Right, well, do you know what? We're nearly 40 minutes in. We've only done 3 races, so I think we need to quicken on a bit.
Yeah.
We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to go. So next up, it's the Grand Annual. I'm going to go first with this just to get out of the way because there's going to be a relentless abuse if I come at the end again. So
Can you just say the horse and move on?
I'm gonna stick one up for you, lads.
I'm joking.
I did put my armour on, but I feel like I need some chainmail or something just to really.
Okay.
Oh, thanks.
No.
Oh no. So in the Grand Annual, I am a big fan of Before Midnight. And this is obviously a British trained horse. He completed a 4-timer off a pound higher at the end of 2021. He was actually in a really good vein of form then, enjoying life, which I don't think has been the case so much recently. And he ran Funambule Civila close off 148 not long after that, which is actually pretty good effort. 2 runs before Christmas this campaign weren't too bad. They were both at Ascot. He was hampered in October there. And in November, he faded late on when he looked like he was going to win the race. That was a bit of a concern. But he had a break since then ran fine behind Melistica Doncaster. Again, we had every chance, hit the front before fading very late on. He's down another pound now. And I just hope he can get that finishing effort back because he's definitely a big player considering he's so well treated. He's won over course and distance in the past, of course. And often in this race, if you're towards the head of affairs, it can help. And he is one that likes to race in the vanguard.
We discussed this earlier. You just stole that off me.
Well, I remember Next Sensation winning from the front in beautiful style.
I remember the first Grand Annual winner.
60-1.
I don't.
Yeah.
Actually,
We'll get it this year.
We'll get it this year, Josh. So what is it?
Ventucas. Gone. Bloody Rick.
I'm afraid he's not running this year, mate.
Your nap of the week,
Yeah.
all the time.
It is. I think I just can't get this race right. I think even I remember back in Bundoran in this race 4 years ago, finishing second to Croco Bay. Just a couple of ones in the comments. Dyna Blue will run here, and there was one about another JP horse in the Coral Cup. iCarolyn. I think they're leaning towards this rather than the County Hurdle.
That's good knowledge. That
for Coral Cup. I like Andy Dufresne, a horse that finished second in the race last year to Global Citizen. It was deplorable ground that day. I'd give him the benefit of the doubt. I think it was maybe better conditions and more normal conditions. He probably would have. I think he would have gone and won the race. He was well backed. Interesting stat: favourites, the previous year's favourites, have a great record in this race, as well as JP McManus horses. So I'm pretty sure 3 or 4 of the last 9 of the previous year's favourites have gone on to win it. He was favourite last year. The JP McManus horse. This has been the plan all season, 100%. He ran a good race behind Captain Guinness at the start of the season. He's had 2 very quiet runs since, one in a Grade 1. He was never going to go a yard in a Grade 1. And I just think 155. I think if you'd given Gordon Elliott that when they were lining up in the Grade 1 at Christmas behind Blue Lord, I think he'd have accepted that quite a lot. Andy Dufresne.
Yeah, there's again some funny comments in the
loving
air.
the
Yeah,
Andy Dufresne propaganda.
Yeah, there's a lot. Yeah, there
Fills
is.
my heart with joy.
Yeah, Lewis says, "Can't wait for the battle over dog shit shambles."
Well, I should mention this. For those that have never watched the Let's Talk Racing YouTube channel, I am going to back Battle Over Doyen wherever he runs, and I hope that he outruns it.
Well, because our podcast is
You
now
shaped like
sponsored
well
by
the other
Battle
day, I
Over
thought.
Doyen. We've mentioned him so many times. So
Well, he'll either run. I think he's going to run the Grand National, but he'll either run here. Well, there's 3 places he could run: the Grand National, the Plate, or the Grand Annual.
Naturally.
So whichever one he runs in, I'll back him. But it is massively
Versatile.
accessible. I wouldn't recommend doing it.
I'm just going to have a quick, because we had 3 comments here about Time White.
Yep.
I actually went to Nichols's on Monday, and he was very complimentary about Time White's chance. He said that he needs to be fresh. That's the main thing. He just needs to go there fresh. He is going there fresh. He thinks he's on a good mark. He thinks the race is going to suit him. So if you have back Time White, you've definitely got the trainers go ahead.
Nichols won the race 4 times since 2004.
There you go.
Goes well.
just
And
playing devil's advocate, though, Bully. Like, if you're going to Paul Nichols, which you did a great piece for Racing TV 4, because I was looking at it today in the editing room.
Thanks, mate.
He's hardly going to go. You ask him about Time White. He's hardly going to go. Oh, Jesus, he's a bit of a dog, isn't he? Like, he's going to say he's got a decent chance.
He's not. No, you're absolutely right. He wouldn't say that. But I also think if he was less enthusiastic, he would have been clearly so. Because there are a couple of horses he wasn't as enthusiastic about, particularly, I would say, Hitman in the Ryanair. For obvious reasons.
Then again, he's got a brain.
Yeah, just common sense.
Right, let's move to Jake. What do you fancy in the Grand Annual?
Yes, I'm happy that Josh has said that Dina Blue runs, as I thought it would be the case, given a mark of 140. And yeah, she would be, the one that's emerged as a big selection for me here. So last year she went to Cheltenham. She was sent off 11-8 favourite for the Mares Novice Hurdle, and she'd only ever had 1 race course start in her life before that. And ultimately, that's what paid way to her chances in that race, because she just didn't have the experience to race in a big field race like the Mares Novice was. She finished 9th in the end. Clearly, to be sent off that short, she must have a lot of talent. So yeah, I don't think the talent is a question. And this season she's gone over fences, and I think she's put in some really decent performances. She won a beginner's chase at Cork, where she beat Rosie's Hollow, which was a good performance. I think she made all that day as well. So she races prominently, which is something that you need in a Grand Annual. She was then second to Impervious as well, where she jumped the last alongside Impervious. Impervious probably just outstayed her really in the closing stages. She went on by, and it was a good run from Dina Blue to finish second in the Grade 2 event. Last time she ran in the listed Opera Hat, which obviously is an open company mares chase, so it's not for novices. And she was getting a little bit of weight for that, but she still ran a really good race to finish second to Magic Days. And this time she actually took a lead from Magic Days, which I think was good to see as well, because you don't want these horses that are always used to making the running and then having to go into these massive field handicap chases where there's little chance of actually being able to do that. So I thought it was a good run. If Magic Days was to turn up here, I don't think she will. I think she'll probably go to the Mares Chase, but if she was, then she'd be £4 better off at the weights, which should put paid to that form. I think she'd have a good chance. Someone won a bigger price as well that I've also got on my list that I was looking at, before there was even entries, was Midnight Run for Joseph O'Brien. He's about 25 to 1. He's got some really good form in the early autumn, where he was second to Enniskerry, third to Adamantly Chosen and Visionarian, and then he won the Grade 2 Craddockstown Novice Chase by 9 lengths as well. So he's got some good form in the book. He was thrashed on Boxing Day, which I can forgive if they are looking at handicap chases with him in the spring. Then it's not the end of the world to get beaten there. Unfortunately, he has been treated a bit harshly by the British handicapper. He's gone up £5 to a mark of 146, which may put some cold water on my my thought process here. But I think he'll still run a good race, and Joseph O'Brien likes to have a good couple of runners here. So yeah, he would be the other one on my radar at the moment.
Yeah, I really like that horse, actually, Midnight Run. As you say, he has some good form in the campaign. Andrew, come to you. And considering that SBW is going to be with you all week at Cheltenham, is Dad's Lad on your radar?
That is one of the great links. One of the absolute great links. No, look, to speed things up, I had 3 on my short list: Oaken Risk, Andy Dufresne, and Dad's Lad. I had it between the 3 of them. I think Dad's Lad is interesting, fresh. If it is better ground, but he needs it to be better ground, Ali Dufresne, the same as the lads were. And Aucan Risk, he's a horse that's close to my heart. Infamously lost me the Tipstar competition despite winning the Dovecote this time last year, I think.
At least
But,
you're over it.
still not bitter about it or anything. But he's actually he's been a very good money spinner, and I've won a few quid off him. And to be fair, I thought he was mustered in the Betfair Hurdle against a very well-in horse. And going back over fences, he's jumped well this season. I think he's got a chance. So between the three for me.
Yeah, I agree. Aucan Risk has got a really good chance. What do you fancy, Dan?
Andy Dufresne.
Bang on. That's it.
That's it.
Yeah, that'll do. Right, moving on. Right, down to the Pertemps, and a very competitive race, as it always is likely to be. Blimey. Let's go to. I didn't know what's going on there.
He has the worst bladder in Battersea.
Yeah, it's fair. Jake, let's go to you, mate. What do you fancy for the Pertemps?
Yeah, to be honest, it's a race I've been going round and round in circles with. I don't think the race has been helped by there only being 4 qualifying for each, for each qualifier. When it used to be at 6, you'd have a lot more runners in contention. We've literally got 35 horses who could run here. I mean, there's slim pickings really. I don't think it's a good race at all. And the one I kept on just coming back to was Shoot First. He absolutely bolted up, obviously, in that October Pertemps qualifier off a mark of 129. They've put him away since then with the final in mind, like a few of that race have done. And, he's going to have to contend at a £10 higher mark now for that. Philip Burns will take off £5 again, which will help. But, yeah, I just think that he could have plenty more in hand. So he's the one that I'd be with, to be honest. And, yeah, as Josh mentioned earlier, Charles Burns could just have a really good week here, couldn't he? He's got Biker, Run for Oscar, Shoot First and Blazing Cow that are all pretty short prices, and you wouldn't be surprised if any of them won. So yeah, for me it would be Shoot First, but it's not very original.
Doesn't need to be, mate. If it wins, all aboard the Charles Burns bandwagon.
Yes, the people know.
Oh, well, Dan clearly fancies it. I'll let him come and sit down first after his 15th trip to the loo.
The first one was to get another beer. I'll let you know. I'm not taking this slander.
Andrew, what about you from the Irish angle? Shoot First for you?
I think he's got a good chance. I'd be fearful of him, definitely. I think you look back at this race in plenty of years gone by, though, and that Leopardstown qualifier at Christmas time has always been a very good way into this race. It used to be to try find the Gordon Elliott horse that would sneak into 6th. I thought the horse that qualified this year that was really interesting to me was Percival de Galway. He obviously then went on and won at the Dublin Racing Festival very impressively. I was talking to my dad before I came on here. Obviously, he loves his handicaps, and he gave me 2, and this was one of them. A man that me and Josh have met a few times. The lads met him at Trials Day as well. Anthony McCarthy, I think he's in the comments there somewhere.
Oh,
he loves this horse, and he's an absolute legend of a man. He gave it to us at the Dublin Racing Festival, and it absolutely bolted in. And Gavin Cromwell is just a shrewd operator with these types of horses, and I just feel he's going to be the JP number 1. I know there's an awful lot of talk about this David Pipe horse that won at Chepstow the other week. Is he a cert to get in off 128, though? I don't think so.
No.
Well, I'll tell you what, Shane Treacy's just said the JP yoke off 128 is going to bolt in. He's got £20 in hand.
Well, no, to be fair, he'd have a huge chance if he got in, but I just don't think he'll get in.
I would worry. For Road to Cheltenham today, the handicappers who came up with the handicap marks were in, and they were talking about him specifically on the Pertemps, and they think that it will be lower than most years because obviously the 4 runners qualifying compared to the 6, but they think it'd be about 130. They said that there's a chance he could get in, but they wouldn't be confident that he would.
I'd have him as a cert to get in, but that's interesting. I thought he would stroll in, to be honest. But
what do you fancy, Josh?
This is a race that I've been looking at all year, and a horse that I love is Salvador Ziggy.
There it is.
He's been given a mark of 147. I thought that was interesting. I still think that he might have a few pounds in hand. I was hoping they keep him on 145. That was probably wishful thinking. He moved to Gordon Elliott, won plenty of races. The highlight of those was probably at Down Royal in August, which isn't probably a flashy record or form book record. But if you look at the race, he'd be Off You Go, Ronald Punt, Dufflecoat. Home by the lead, ran out at the second last, and he was going well. I wouldn't say that he was definitely going to beat Salvador Ziggy, who was a novice at the time. He was going to run well. Maybe he was. He obviously went on to win the Lismullen. He went on to win the 3 mile race at Christmas at Leopardstown. He's one of the leading fancies in the Stayers Hurdle. So that is a big boost to the form. He then went to Cheltenham in October. He finished 4th in the Pertemps qualifier. All he had to do, I'd say he was 80%, 85% fit. On to Lure is an interesting one. Botox has and went and won the big 3-mile competitive handicap hurdle at Haydock on Betfair Chase Day, and Shoot First hasn't been seen since. So 3 of the top 4 that qualified that day weren't seen since. He's one of those. They freshened him up. He went out to the field. This has always been the target from the moment he ran that day, and I do think he's got a good chance. That being said, there's a few horses I do like in the race outside of him. He's 9-1 now. Would I be getting stuck into Salvador Ziggy at 9-1? Maybe a small each-way play. I am just petrified of Percival Legalwa. I think that he could be real deal and could be a graded horse next season, maybe a Stayers Hurdle horse, maybe a Grade 1 novice chaser. I think he's very, very good. And
Really?
A 6-1, I think if I was looking at the race right now, Salvador Ziggy would be an each-way play small, but Percival Legalwa would be the main win bet.
Yeah, I'm with you, Josh.
Just to note on, thanks for the help. He is already in. He's 24 of 24. So, yeah, don't worry about that. He will be running.
There you go. Percival Legalwa for me as well, Josh. A proper 3-mile hurdler. Really, really impressive, I thought. Dublin Racing Festival.
I'm surprised by this, I have to say.
Well, you can be surprised all you like, Dan, but he's going to run very well. He's
start pressing the lay button.
It's easy humour.
I'm going to call up my dad in a minute.
Right now. I've just cashed out just there. Cheers,
Sorry,
guys.
Dad. We're not on today.
Pathetic, actually, is what it is. It's pathetically easy.
Look, you always laugh at it. It's juvenile.
The genius is in the simplicity.
But what's exciting, I think, as much as you can say the race has maybe not benefited from the 4 qualifying rather than 6, it is a good field. It's competitive, and like Walking on Air was a horse that they were thinking about the Stayers Hurdle at the start of the season. He's in here off a competitive mark. He could run well. I think She Wears It Well will probably go to the Mares Hurdle, but her mark was fairly untouched. She could potentially run here, maybe. The Boss's Oscar's a horse. Maxim, these are good horses that will have a good future over fences. The John Joe Neal horse is very interesting. Nicky Henderson loves Steeler March. It's going to be competitive, and unlike other Pertemps, there's probably 5, 6, 7 horses in here that you get excited about moving forward. So yeah, I think it's very open, exciting.
Well, top of the market's full of horses who won last time out, unlike finishing 6th last time out. So
Exactly.
it's done its job. Although the fact there are only 44 entries and qualifiers, I think probably says this race should go, to be quite honest. But
let me just introduce you, Dan, because Alex Jeffrey said, "Who has a piss that quick? Have you not washed your hands, Dan?" So actually, over to the very unhygienic.
And he's got his hand by his mouth.
It's ruthless efficiency. I've been around the block enough to know how it's done. In which case, Shoot First is a conveniently titled name. I think just bolts up here. Yeah. I think
I'm quite enjoying this kind of just concise, one-sentence approach.
Well, I think it's got to be done.
Okay.
From time to time.
Well, particularly with 55 minutes in.
I'm known for my long, alluded explanations. I think I'm going to cut it short this time. I just think he had so much in hand last time, it was almost ludicrous. Hung left all the way up the straight. It was still only hands and heels until he absolutely had to get serious. I don't think a £10 mark is really much to be scoffed at. And for a team that know how to land gambles, been off since, I just think he's still got a fair bit in hand.
Okay, very interesting stuff. Let's move on then to the plate, which is one of my favourite races, actually, of the Cheltenham Festival. So Scottish is the favourite at the moment, adamantly chosen, and then Houghton Couleur next 2 in the market. So the first 3 in the betting are all Irish. And then we've got Ilrodotto and Balco Coastal, who are both obviously British trained, one for Nichols, one for Henderson. Josh, come to you first for this one.
Really tricky race. The favourite has been bought by JP McManus, will be making his debut, lot to like. I don't think they're particularly happy with 1-4-3 mind. I think there potentially could be an appeal to that. Don't hold me to that, but I think that is very interesting. I wouldn't love him off 143. Don't think he's got that much in hand. He's going to have to be a 150 horse to win the race. Not sure he is. Houghton Couleurs might run here. Not a fan of him, especially with what he's done. Adamantly chosen might run here. Ilrodotto will, but he's got to be ridden perfectly. Not sure he'll love the hustle and bustle of this race compared to the last race. Stage Style will go to the Grade 1s. Balco Coastal will go to the Turners. So the one that there's 2 or 3 that I'm toying with. The one is That's Right Gino, who actually ran the other day, finished 2nd behind Solo at Kempton, and he finished 2nd behind Stage Start at Cheltenham. I honestly, I'm very happy. No matter what he says, I'm very happy to give him another go. Ran very well, bumped into extremely well handicapped horse. Ran again since. I don't think his mark is brilliant, but I think he'll run to it in 145, and I like him a lot. And then the other one, if he was to run here, and he might not run here, but he might. I think Phil Dorr is interesting. I've always thought that he'd be a better horse up in trip. Obviously, he ran over 2 miles hurdles the last day, but he's still in here. I'm not sure his mark was terrible. I would give him a squeak if he runs, but you wouldn't be sure he would.
I'm just not sure. How does he win the plate after he's won the National on Chase on Tuesday?
That is.
That was a cheap blow.
But it hurts. He's a horse that obviously is very classy, and I do think is a stayer and will improve massively. And he would be unexposed if he was to go up in trip. Like, we've only ever seen him over 2 miles and a furlong, the furthest. He's ran well this season. He's got the runs in over fences that he needs to run in the race. And I don't know, maybe he might, maybe he won't. But if he was to run here, he shouldn't be 20-1.
Interesting stuff. We've got some good comments about this, actually. First from Jordan Pittman, who says, shoot first winning for the last race. Joshua better hope ABW doesn't steal that gun. That was quite a good one. Got one saying, is So Scottish another plot job? I mean, the likelihood is yes, that's the answer. Whether or not it'll be enough to win is a different question. Josh, question for you here from Only Fools again. Call Me Lyrene, Grand Annual, or the plate?
I think he'll run here.
Agreed.
I'm not sure it's a definite, but I think he'll run here. Don't fancy him at all.
I think he's got a chance.
Okay, I want to hear Andrew's thoughts on this race, because there was a lot of huffing and puffing about what Josh just said. So let's see.
No, he's obsessed with his stats, all right, Gino, who's no better than his mark. Like, he's a honest horse. He runs to his mark, but he's got nothing in hand. Look, I really don't fancy near on anything in this race. It's the only handicap bully I was really struggling with, because I can't get away from the favourite. I think the favourite's just the most unexposed and the best chance. I think, like, between probably second in the market and 10th in the market are possibly the 9 or 10 most unlikable horses in training. Full of horses that don't like winning, aren't well handicapped, or have been kind of complete underachievers given their lofty reputations. So it wouldn't be a race I'd be getting stuck into. I probably would play So Scottish on the day at a short enough price, which isn't very inspired.
Are you going to play Battle Over Doyen at 50s if he runs?
To be honest, I'm going to back Battle Over Doyen just so that I can, if it goes in. It's like my dad with Commander of Fleet. I've got to be in the winner's enclosure with them, even though I didn't fancy it. You've got to be in there with them. So.
In a turn of events.
So I'm wasting a tenner by doing it. But
turn of events, Josh has grabbed the gun and turned it on Andrew.
Unbelievable. Who'd have thought it?
I just slipped in 20 quid under the camera.
Also, just buddy, I want to say there's a few people mentioning Adamantly Chosen who was third or fourth in the betting here. I'd be very, very surprised if he turned up for this race.
Any of Woodies will run here,
I think they'll run him in the 2.5 mile grade 1, to be honest.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, I agree with that. Jess Craven says Iron Maximus if it runs here. ZB Rogan says Ruby put up Field Door for this, so there you go. What do you think, Dan?
I back fast or slow. Anyone who's watched the Antipode series will know. 16s, he's about 11s now. 150 isn't. He's not that well handicapped off that based on what he's shown. He still has potential. I hope the tongue tie goes back on, in which case it will interest me. And the horse that Josh gave absolutely no chance to, Call Me Lyrene, I thought was slightly interesting at 33-1. I thought the summer form he had with the likes of Visionarian was doing pretty well behind Adamantly Chosen when he made a glaring error 2 out. And I've never seen a horse land so sideways in my life at that fence, and basically gave him no chance. But he was bang there until that mistake. This is a horse that went off a mark of 152 in the county after winning the Liffey. I think there is some upside to him over 2.5 miles on good ground in a handicap chase. He's 33-1. I think that's reasonable enough. But like the others have said, this at the minute I think is a bit of a nightmare of a race to bet in if you're really going to have a bet now.
Bit of a nightmare of a race. I quite fancy the horses who fought out the finish on Cheltenham Trials Day to do the same thing again, Iridoto and Fugitive, to fill out the 1-2. I think that's got a very good chance of happening, I think. Both up 6 pounds in the weights. Iridoto with those cheek pieces, a completely different horse in terms of his finishing. He's still very strongly up the hill, and I could see him running really well again, and I think he'll be prominent. I think he's got a massive chance. Paul Nichols, come on! Jake, what do you think?
I'll give a nod to Fast or Slow as well. Dan's kind of made the case before on the jump show if you haven't heard it before, but yeah, I'll give a nod to him. And last year I came on here and I gave a nod to Fusel Raffles, and he's now back in this race off 20-1. He was a non-run on the day last year, and then he ran at Sandown on the last day of the season over hurdles. Hasn't been seen since, and despite doing nothing in that time, he's been dropped £2. So it's another example of the British handicapper being, fairly lenient on these British handicap chases and dropping them quite quickly. He's now £7 lower than when fourth to Cool Cody, Zanza, and Midnight Shadow in a race over this course and distance last year. So, yeah, I'd give him a squeak at 20-1.
And he was at Kempton the other day on the Gallops Day.
Aye.
Yes.
There you go. It's all working out. Right, that is the plate, I should say. On to the last race on Thursday, which is one of the longest titled races of the whole week. The Fulk Warren Kim Muir Challenge Cup Amateur Jockeys Handicap Chase, sponsored by the JRL Group GBB. There you go. And it's assembling what looks like a pretty competitive field. It usually is, featuring horses whose target might be something a little bit further down the line, coming here on the way to, say, a Grand National or a Scottish National or whatever. Stumptown is the favourite here, 9-2. Andrew, come to you first. Are you a fan of Stumptown?
I am indeed. I'd also be a fan of the money you must be getting from that race sponsor to be wheeling that one out in its entirety. But yeah, I reckon the race itself.
JRL Group. The JRL Group. Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind that as well myself. But no, I really, really like Stumptown in this race. I've been bashing on about him for a couple of weeks. Just an improving horse. His jumping has gotten an awful lot better at the last few starts. I thought he was good at Sandown. Sandown's sometimes, it's obviously a tricky jumping track at the best of times, especially down the back. Jumped really nicely. He was up to 133 originally. He's been put up to 135 now. I think that's more than fair. He'll get him in off a low enough weight. I suppose the only thing I'm not sure about is the riding situation. With the way that Cromwell's amateurs usually are ridden, Joey Dunn usually rides them. Joey Dunn's a very capable rider. If I was to trade him in for a Barry O'Neill, I would. That's no disrespect to him, but you want obviously the best amateurs you can have in this type of race, no doubt. Cod will be on something of Gordon's. Patrick will be on Mr. Incredible. He's not a horse that does it for me. He tends to sack it in like a pile of spuds halfway round all the time, and then kind of can stay on a little bit when the goose is cooked. And I'm just not sure whether I want to be taking a small price on that. As for you've got a good stayer and a good jumper in Stumptown. I know he's a short price for a handicap chase. It's not one of the most inspired selections at 9-2, but I just think he's well ahead of his mark still, and he could well be a 150, 155 horse masquerading in this off 135.
Yeah, there's a few comments who definitely agree with you, though, Andrew. There's one indeed from Graham. He says the couple in the top left seem like a nice couple. I wish them every success in their life together. So there you go. The LTR lads. Potential marriage ahead.
I mean, they've only got a couple. I mean, bearing in mind they've been pointing guns at each other all night. I mean, I'm not sure it's a healthy relationship.
It's either go hard or go home with them, isn't it? It really is. Also, just to let you know, the Jump Show is very much on its way to 1,000 subscribers. We'd love to get there before the Cheltenham Festival. We've got 93 to go, so please do subscribe. And of course, subscribe to Let's Talk Racing, but they've got a few more subscribers.
They already have.
we probably need it. We probably need a little bit more help. Yeah, exactly. But our fans are much more loyal, I would say, and much more interesting. Actually.
That's half the audience.
Yeah, go on. See you later. Yeah, very much so.
That being said, if people are watching this that haven't subscribed to you guys, they really should do, because you give an awful lot more informed opinion. Well, no, sorry, I'll rephrase. Jake and Dan give an awful lot more.
I knew that was coming.
Me and Josh.
The most predictable banter ever.
If you hit 1,000 subscribers on the stream, I will give a free £20 bet on any race Battle Over Doyen runs in to the 1,000th subscriber. You just have to
bloody good
screenshot the one being the 1,000th and send it on to me on Twitter.
Now they're all going to wait because they want the £20 free bet.
It'll be like a Pertemps qualifier. We're all waiting.
Well, might as well be. There you go. What an offer.
Oh, it's great. No, thanks for that, Josh. That's a really good incentive for the Jump Show for sure. We'll keep an eye on that absolutely throughout the evening because we've still got about 3 races to go.
It's some price. Literally just nothing, basically. It could be worth $1,000. You never know.
Yeah, you never know.
Potential of something. Yeah. It's the hope that kills you.
It's very exciting. Josh, let's get your thoughts then on the race.
I don't have any thoughts. Honestly, don't fancy anything in the race at the moment.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very honest, fair enough, very upfront. Funnily enough, I've actually got one of my stronger fancies in the handicaps in this contest.
Oh, here we go.
Waiting for
we
this
go.
one.
Believe it, by the way. I can't fathom.
I take it British trained because according to Tom Ball, the Brits are going to win the Presbury Cup 27-1.
Yeah, I'm just
on the
waiting
right
for-
lines.
The one being the one in the Boodles.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm just
excuse
waiting-
me. Have I not just put up Percival de Galois? I think I did.
Oh, sorry.
27
25-3. Give him blood destiny. 25-3. The correct score, 25-3. I think that will pay out $1 million to 1.
Well, okay. Well, drum roll, please. Dr. Kananga. That was fun, actually, that drum roll. Look, let me just put up the case. He's 33-1. He's a rhythm horse. He's got to get in a lovely rhythm to measure his fences, and he's a huge scopy type. He handles most types of ground, but he's more effective if there's a little bit of give. So if there's a tiny bit of rain, that will help his chance. He won a couple of chases this time last year in very easy fashion. Won up the handicap for that, but has been very lightly raced this campaign. He's had 3 runs, 2 of which came over hurdles, and then he jumped too big, went off too fast in the beach chase. That can be overlooked very easily. He's dropped to a mark now, which can be very competitive. His mark has been saved for a big pot target trainer. I think this is the one, Dan, I have to say. And I know that you don't think this is the worst shout in the world. Okay, you're squidging your nose up, but
No, but I think it's funny that I say we met up before this, and you told me you had a 33-1 shot for the Kim Muir, and you asked me to get you wanted to get my opinion on it, and before you could even say it, I guessed this horse.
you did
I not?
actually, and you
Yeah.
said there were 12 horses at that price, and you got exactly the right one.
Yeah, exactly. Because I
But
knew
that's
what you
because,
were gonna say.
but that's also because you saw it was the only one that had any semblance of a chance.
Yeah, because all the others are absolute no hopers.
Yeah, well, what would you describe this one as?
He's got a chance if he can get into a room. He's
There
got
you go.
slightly softer ground than ideal.
Okay.
I actually do quite like this case.
Okay.
Like generally, I'm not even,
You put it on your little iPad.
Yeah, I've got it on my
You got
notes.
you got it on your iPad.
Yeah, I've got it on my notes. Like everything you said is absolutely bang on. Like this is clearly Ben Clark is clearly a target trainer.
Mhm.
He tried to get him ready for the Beecher. He ran behind the one and the only Maximilian over hurdles.
Legend.
Go get there he is.
How's this horse not 3-1?
Got to get the fans on side.
Oh yeah.
Like, he ran behind that before the Beecher. He went off 8-1 for that because he's a bold jumping front runner. I think in a race that was too strongly run that day, he also gave too much respect to those fences, jumped them too big.
Mhm.
And in a race where nothing that went up with the pace, he finished out the back like the rest of them. Everything came from off the pace that day. Given another run over hurdles, the last day was a prep for this. This is his only entry. He's down to a mark of 135. He'd previously been second to Evers Oscar off that exact same mark. Evers Oscar then won off £9 higher subsequently. I generally think if he can get into a rhythm out front in a slowly run Kim Muir, he's got a chance.
Okay,
I
we
really do.
we got a lot of banter here on the comments. Matthew Feeney says more chance of Battle over Doyen winning the Gold Cup. And then Lewis Spencer says I'd rather back Doyen to do the Gold Cup and Grand National double. Which I think is totally absurd.
I think that's actually abuse, Tom. It's not banter.
No, they're not laughing.
It's quite nice though that the abuse isn't just directed at me. It's actually got you involved as well.
I'm just trying to find the number online for the men in white coats because you need to be taken away, bully. With
I did just hear a knock at the door, to be fair.
Yeah, I wonder what that was. Yeah.
it's just, like the only thing I would say with a horse like that, the biggest thing that you have not taken into consideration one bit, well, maybe you have, and you can tell me who rides the horse.
Well,
That is a good question.
that is a good
Yeah.
question. Well, Ben Clark, being famously of the point-to-point spear very recently, only just come out of the point-to-point spear, will have his connections. He will have the people in the right places. The fact is his only entry suggests to me they have a plan. It might not be a good plan, but it's a plan.
Yeah.
I reckon I could get Josh on a horse tomorrow, and this time next year he'd be the best English point-to-point rider.
Oh, that is really harsh on actually every English rider.
Good.
I'd
James
like to
King's
do that.
a great rider. Alice Stevens.
Will
plenty of
Biddick.
very-
Will Biddick is superb.
Will Biddick.
Is he like 56?
Doesn't
No,
matter.
You got to.
Right, let's get.
They wouldn't be one of the top 10 in Ireland. Anyway.
The standard. in
Irish
Ireland
jockeys are
is-
so great, aren't they?
Yeah, and then they win these races. It's correlation and causation, bully.
Not last year, they didn't.
Quite right. There you go. Won by a 10-year-old Nick
Lucy
Williams
Turner.
trained, Lucy Turner.
Can we talk about the county?
Let's just get Jake's thoughts on that race very quickly.
Yeah, hang on. Let me actually get a winner for you guys.
If I'm all right, you're right.
Yeah, no, I really like Am I Right. I put him up in the series, and I've actually had a bit of information. So on a preview night the other day, Robbie Power, who is Henry de Bromhead's racing manager, has come out and said that he's going to run here in a first-time tongue tie, which is actually a massive Kim Muir stat because 9 of the last 10 winners have worn some kind of headgear. So that's a real positive. He's put up £4 by the British handicapper to 142. So, that's towards the top of the weights, but I think it's fine. His form is good. He ran last time behind the Devil's Coachman and Ramillies, which, they're 2 horses rated in Ireland around 145. So, over here they'd be high 140s, maybe low 150s. So I think it's good performance. And something else that I've actually noticed is the Devil's Coachman is entered in the Leinster National on the Sunday before Cheltenham, and he looks to have a massive chance in that if he turned up. So the form could yet get a boost as well. We just need to get Barry O'Neill booked. If he's booked, then it's an absolute dreamland. But yeah, Am I Right? I really like him.
This is what you get with the Jump Show. Not only do you get Cheltenham Festival tips, you get Leinster National tips as well in the weeks leading up to it. I mean, that is how good
Inside
Jake Price
information.
is. He's that strong. Tremendous stuff. Right, moving on to Friday. We've got 2 races left to cover. One of those is the County, and a proper minefield, just as the Coral Cup was. It's very difficult to make head nor tail of this. At least it is for me. I've got plenty of judges to try and figure it out, though, which is excellent stuff. Filey Bay, really hot favourite here. Dan, a fair one too, I would say.
I think you'd have to respect the fact that he came from off the pace in a race when nothing did in the Betfair Hurdle. I don't necessarily think that mark is a gift. I think you'd have to step forward again, but he's likely raced enough to do so. The one I really do like, despite probably every trend in the book telling me I shouldn't, is Sharjah. Like, it's been, I think it's been a 9-year-old plus winner since 2007. And ultimately, it's generally a race for progressive types. But in a race where conditions have changed and now you need 4 runs to get in, I don't think you're looking at the state man.
Does he qualify? Has he had 4?
What, Sharjah? No, just about. Just about. I think it was his 4th the last time out.
I think he's had 40.
I think he's 26. He's just about got there. Bless his old heart. But I think the profile might change slightly to what it might have used to be. So, I mean, Arctic Fire won this race back in 2018 off 158. He hadn't been seen for almost a year, or I think it's more than a year. He previously finished second in the Champion Hurdle. And class horses do well in this race, despite them being off high marks. They do. Petit Mouchoir was second off 155, the same mark as Sharjah is, despite having an even worse preparation. Like, he was beaten miles in the Red Mills before this and was clearly going backwards, yet he finished second in 2021. And Arctic Fire went off 158 after being not seen for ages. This is a horse who's been second in 2 Champion Hurdles. I think he's had excuses on every single run this season, be it a combination of ground slower than ideal, especially in the Red Mills. Like, I saw him interview Patrick Mullings after that race, and he said he knew his chance had basically gone once he saw the time of the first race and he walked the track. Like, I would forgive him that effort. He made a couple of really howling mistakes on 2 of his last runs as well. I still think there's a horse in there, despite him being 10 years old. Off 155, I think there's a race in him like this. Strongly run race, 2-mile one, stiff track like that, where you can be ridden patiently and have a strong pace to aim at. I can see a scenario very much where he's cruising into this race, coming down to the last. Wherever he finds 1 or 2 too young for him, too quick for him, potentially. But I really do see a scenario where he's creeping into this race and he has a live chance at the last. Like, I generally, the more I look at this...
You're really keen on this, aren't you? I
really
can tell
like
your heart rate's climbing.
I don't think Willie's got anything else.
Yeah.
Hunter Jean, I think, will go to Supreme. Winter Fog's off 152. You're not telling me Sharjah isn't a £3 better horse than Winter Fog.
No, you wouldn't tell me that.
Like, that's baffling to me.
Yeah.
Let's say Tom won't run, he'll go to Supreme.
Mhm.
I think this is Willie's live bullet in this race. I really do.
Love that. That is one of the great cases I've ever heard. We got some comments on this race. James Burgess actually amused me with this. Jimmy Coco pops into the winning enclosure. Winner's enclosure. Very good. That. I like that. Only
You're
fools.
easily pleased.
Yeah, I am easily pleased. Yeah, I like it. I like a pun. Emmett Mullins said Filey Bay's big day was the Betfair Hurdle. Said they took a swing and a miss, and he made up against it with his mark. That comes from Only Fools Love Horses Racing. And right, that is enough of the comments for now. We've had Dan's views. Let's get the views of Andrew. Because Andrew, Sharjah being obviously an Irish horse, a stalwart of the Irish scene for a long time. Are you a fan of his in this race?
I can see the angle, yeah. you just wondered maybe how much of that ability he still retains. And I suppose the thing that he's creeping into his running style at the moment is making a howler of a mistake, which he used not to. But if he can get around with a clear round, he'd have to have a chance. Not a race I was overly strong on. I can see the angle behind Pembroke maybe for the Skeletons. Winter Fog, I know is off 152, but your man Callahan will 100% ride him, so he'll be off in effect 145. Does he have a chance of 145? Maybe a squeak. And the one I'm very interested to see how he runs on Saturday is Colonel Mustard. I feel they might just have a spin around in the Moor battle and just maybe see how things go, maybe get a bit of confidence up. He went chasing, didn't really work out for him. Obviously close third in the race last year. He's currently 20-1. I'd be interested to just see how he runs. Hope he runs a nice race, maybe without winning, just so he obviously doesn't get that £5 penalty. But I think he might have a squeak. He's 20-1.
Okay, Colonel Mustard with the lead pipe at the Cheltenham Festival. What do you think, Jake?
I think people are probably going to be laughing at me again here, but Icar Allen, I still think he's the one who stands out to me. Just completely put a line through his last run.
I think he could go to the Coral Cup.
Really? Okay, then that is
I think
fair.
they're leaning more that way, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'll still probably back in the Neva just because in the Coral Cup, he'd be unexposed over that trip. But if he ran here, I'd still give him a chance. His course and distance form when he was fourth in the Triumph is very, very good. He'd now be £6 better off a Fildor and £9 better off a Pied Piper if they were to meet in this race. He ran a really good race in that Grade A handicap hurdle off a mark of 140 in Ireland in December as well. So, look, if you just put a complete line for his last run, which he was actually dropped £1 for as well, which is useful, I think he's got a chance. Right. And then I think De Capo Glory might be going to the Martin Pipe, but he was the other one that interested me as a horse. He's only had 3 runs, but because he's not a novice, he gets to go in handicaps. 139 could underestimate him because he's finished third to El Fabiolo and ran well in the Grade 3 Red Mills trial the other day as well. So yeah, those 2 horses were on my list, but it sounds like maybe neither of them run. But it's not a vintage renewal, and Jim Coker would probably be my pick of the English lot.
If that De Capo Glory runs, he's got a very fair chance. I'd be right behind that.
He's very interesting.
And I don't think Icar Allen is confirmed, but I think they're just 60-40 Coral Cup.
Fair enough.
What do you think about the race, Josh?
Don't really have a massively strong view. I think Hunter's Yarn might run here. I'd say Winter Fog, they're not going to be particularly happy with the mark of 152. Claimer will have to be on for him to be competitive. I think the one that I probably am leaning towards, this is just a typical me thing though, is Pembroke. Skeleton horse in the county hurdle. I've been there before. It hasn't worked out for me, but Dan Skelton's been there before. It has worked out for him. Seriously good horse. Won a bumper very impressively. He was disappointing on his hurdling debut. Won 2 relatively small novice events at relatively small tracks very impressively. Then he went into the 2.5 mile Grade 2. And he was beaten by Rock My Way, Travel the Dream. He stays. It wasn't a great race. Mufasa was third, Henry II fourth. That would be my slight concern, like how good has he actually ran to? But Pembroke for me would be one. I think he's going to stay 2 miles and a furlong, and he's quick enough. Hopefully they get it right with him, and he is well handicapped.
Yeah, I don't have a huge view on the race, but I'm with Pembroke as well. Graham's just, I think, come up with a comment of the night, actually. Looks like Jake is running a Zoom AA meeting. It's just genius. I mean, totally. I rather agree as well.
My name's Dan. I'm an alcoholic.
I don't think I'm doing a good job because the 2 in the top right are drinking as we're recording. Yeah.
Mainly me in my defence.
Great stuff, Josh. Thanks for that, mate. I agree with you. I think Pembroke has got a really good chance. I haven't got a hugely strong view on the race, but he'd be my fancy for it. Right, one race to go. Come to the end. It is the Martin Pipe, arguably the hardest race of them all to try and work out. But we'll give it our best shot. And Jake, start with you for this. What do you fancy?
Yeah, so to be honest, it's been absolutely exhausting following the anti-post journey of Spanish Harlem, putting him up at 16s. Look, he's got a chance, clearly. Willie Mullins talking horse has, put him right into 11-2 favourite. That's just a stupid price. That's far too short. Does he have a chance? Clearly he does. But it's just been exhausting following it. And I'll just be happy when it's over, to be honest. Away from that, Imagine has been put up by Gordon Elliott. Clearly, he's a well-treated horse of 139. His form links in with Spanish Harlem, except he looks a much quicker horse. He's one of the horses that's stepping up from 2 miles to 2.5, rather than a lot of them are dropping back from 3 miles. So I'd give him a big squeak as well. And then I know I was going to mention him, Cool Survivor. I'd definitely give a chance to him if he runs here. I looked before we started. Actually, he's out to 36 on the exchange for the Albert Bartlett and into 8 for the Martin Pipe. So it does look like he's going to go here, but that remains to be seen.
Lovely. Thanks very much indeed, Jake. A couple of comments from people here. Calvin Costello says Pem go broke, which is very clever. Very clever. If you put the go in between Pem and Brook, that's very clever. Matthew Feeney says subscribers haven't moved since that free bet from Josh. I kind of feel like...
I think I've gone down.
Well, I kind of feel like if Josh hadn't put that free bet on Battle Over Dawn, we might have had a few more subscribers.
I think it's any other horse.
Literally anything else.
They're going to have to subscribe because the bet is void past this video. So the time we go off, which it could be in 20 minutes, 30 minutes, it's void. So
the shrewd play is making 60 accounts in the next. Then on the 60th one collecting.
Yeah.
Martin Pipe's always tough, isn't it, Josh? What do you fancy?
Spanish Harlem I quite liked. I think he's an interesting one. Obviously, has a chance. Don't think he's Galopin de Champ. It's hard to know whether he's just a seriously good horse, been running very averagely with this in mind, or he's just a very average horse and they've fell into this. I think 135 is interesting. I think they'll run him. I think Willie was contemplating going to Fairy House and Punchestown. I get the impression they will run him, speaking to Ruby Walsh this morning, but equally speaking to Ruby Walsh, he said he is not Galopin de Champ. This isn't a massive plot job. They've had this race in mind, but he's not a grade 1 horse, which throws it well open. And I don't really fancy anything else at the moment.
Yeah, very interesting stuff. I'll go very quickly now. I fancy Might Eye. I think this could be finally the one for him. I know I'm putting up another English horse for this race, but he's lightly raced for his age. Oh, come on, just let me do it. He's lightly raced for his age.
To be fair, English horses have such a great record in recent years in this race.
Anyway, he's very talented at his best. He was beaten a neck at Cheltenham last time by Hackaday Place, who unfortunately misses the meeting. But he was given so much to do from the rear that day. He's up £3. I think it's fair for that. Novice form obviously reads very well behind John Bond, Constitution Hill, and 3 Stripe Live from last year. I'm absolutely convinced, I've no doubt in my mind, that he'll be rated a lot higher than his current 145 in time. He's still very unexposed. He's pretty lightly raced for his age. A strong traveller, ideally suited by the likely strong pace of the race. And he's also not had many chances on a surface sounder than good soft. So I think it will help him, being out of fame and glory. Like he'll like a quick surface. So I'm hoping that he's going to run well.
Is he not at max a 150 horse?
Yeah,
like
you say he's going to be.
Max.
You say he's going to be much better than 145. What do you think he's going to be?
He could be 155.
You think?
Absolutely. I'm adamant about that. Yeah, he's
I've heard, or you think he's going chasing?
Wait, no, I think he probably wouldn't do it over hurdles. He'd probably have to do it over fences. But I can see him get up to 155 for sure.
I think like 155 too short for every single race he's ever run in, and he'll just win a veteran's chase in 3 years' time.
Well, do you know what the great thing about racing is? That it's a game of opinions.
Yeah, and you've got the wrong one.
There you go.
Yeah, you are wrong, Tom.
Okay, well, look, he's bloody 10-1, so I'm not the only person who thinks that Might Eye.
Well, if Might Eye wins, I'll buy your drinks all night because I know you're in
Fair enough.
Can we have a look? Can we have a look at the comments about Might Eye from
Please
Jack?
do.
Stop it, please.
Shite on. Oh, come on, Jack. You're better than that.
Next one.
You're better than that.
Yeah.
Ellen, you're better than that. Might Eye, more like Mike
Kieran
Norton.
Murphy as well.
Probably won't. After watching this, I turned down me. My bad.
I didn't even need to.
It's not been. It hasn't been the most popular selection. I'll give you that.
What your man is drinking.
Gary Mellier says every time he sips his beer, nothing comes out. Exactly like Battle Over Door, and every time he runs, nothing happens.
I love that. I thought it should be more insulting. Me or Battle Over Door?
Well, I think he's talking about me actually, but what a brilliant analogy that is. Right, moving on to Andrew. What do you think, mate, about the race?
Well, I quite liked Coon Survivor for this race. I'm not sure whether he's going to run or not for Gordon. He seems to be edging towards the Bartlett. I think that's the wrong thing to do because he wouldn't be in the first 4 or 5 in the Bartlett as for he'd have a chance in this. And the one that both myself and my dad quite like, there's been an awful lot of talk about Imagine. And I'm not sure whether this horse will run because he's also in the Caldwell colours. But I think Firm Footings has got a much better chance in this race than Imagine, and he's over double the price. I think he's 20-1 best price. It was actually, my dad said to me that if he ran, he's his best bet of the week. So take it for what you will. His best bet of the week last year was Commander of Fleet. He's the only man in the entirety of Cheltenham that had backed the horse, but sure, look, that's same old. But I agree with him. I think he's got a nice way of going about things. He's a good jumper. He stays 2.5 miles. He's come in at from maiden hurdles, which I don't mind, actually. I think Imagine, have we not just seen what Imagine's like? You know, he's a decent horse. I don't think he's got massive amounts in hand. As for Firm Footings, I think he's over 135. I think he's got more in hand than people might think.
And I think if we all had 25% of the punting ability of SBW, we'd all be much richer than we are now.
George, we wouldn't be doing this anyway.
And Anthony McCarthy agrees. Andrew, Dad, good judge, definitely. Also, Anthony's got to be up at 6, so we won't keep this too much longer. Dan, your thoughts on this race?
I don't get the Imagine thing. I really like. It's been, I think, because in one quote he said, "Oh, Imagine's going to run here. That means everyone's going to back." I generally don't really see it. He's only run over 2 miles. At the start of the season, this was a precocious bumper horse. They thought was going to be almost supreme bound, and all of a sudden, oh no, he's slow, so we need to run him over in Martin Pipe, which is traditionally a track for 3-mile chasers. Don't get it. I really don't get it. Like Safarur in the Coldwell colours as well is a horse I actually have a lot of time for. I know he only scrambled home in the Michael Purcell the other day. I actually thought that was quite a decent run. He clearly looked very green once he hit the front. I think under a more patient ride, he has a chance. If Free Card Bragg goes here, which seems unlikely at this stage, like I would be all over him because I think he's by far the best horse in this race. And off 142, I think he would probably dance home. But because the McNeil connections think he's going, they want Adrian Heskin on him all the time.
I reckon Max McNeil was desperate for Adrian Heskin to ride. I think Gordon's desperate for him not to.
That's the thing. Like if in an Albert Bartlett, I give him a place chance. In here, he would be one of my strongest bets of the week.
Love that.
But the reality is he's probably going to the Albert Bartlett, which is a shame. And after that, like I was really struggling. Like I don't really care for Imagine. I don't care for Langadown. I don't care for Spanish Harlem. He's the worst price of the week based on what he is currently. Maybe the one who interested me at the bigger price was a Rocco for Oliver Greenall in the JP colours. This is the horse who came as a juvenile with a huge reputation. Like he was meant to be Triumph Hurdle level last season. Didn't really work for him. Once he's been stepped up in trip after a bit of wind surgery, like he's just proved a different proposition entirely. He demolished a good field last time out. I know it's Oliver Greenall, so people aren't really going to pay him much attention. But in a race where JP doesn't seem to have a real standout contender, which he normally does. Like we know, he normally has one or two. It could be from a variety of trainers. Like Joseph's had one for him a few times, like in Front View a few years ago. Like they tend to come from different sources. In this case, he doesn't seem to have one. I think this could be his horse this year. And if he gets a top condition on him, I think his price will shorten because the form of his Weatherby win, for all that it's Weatherby and for all those horses are Northern based, it's actually pretty solid for that level. And I think this is a horse on the up over 2.5 miles, and I think he still has potential. So if he does run here, I'd have an eye on him.
Okay, lovely stuff. Cheers, Dan. Right, we need to come to the end of this. We had a comment earlier saying, can we have a lucky 15 from each of the panel in handicaps? So without further ado, let's do that. I'll go first, just because it gives everyone else a little bit more time to come up with a decision. I'll go Oscar Elite in the Ultima. I will go Percival de Galois in the Pertemps. I'll go Il Rodotto in the Plate, and I'll go Dr. Kananga in the Kim Muir.
I'm putting up losers in my lucky 15.
I remember my first loser. Jake, do you want to go next?
Yeah, go on then. I'll go for 3 under 3.5 in the Ultima, Beacon Edge in the Coral Cup, Dino Blue in the Grand Annual, and Shoot First in the Pertemps.
Lovely stuff. Josh?
Andy Dufresne, Percival Le Galois, Pembroke, and That's All Right, Gino.
Andrew?
Firm Footings, Stumptown, Percival Legalwa, and HMS Collect.
And unsurprisingly, 4 Irish horses there, put up by Andrew. And Dan, what about you?
Lord Accord in the Ultima, Andy the Frayne in the Grand Annual, Sharjah in the County, and what's next? You know, I'll change my. I'll go. Am I right in the Kim Muir?
Okay.
Yeah.
Like that.
Oh, you like him now, do you?
Turncoat.
Can we
Can we
quite
do
right.
one more outside
Like,
of
I
the
know my
handicap?
one runs. Like I need an Irish horse on side there, and he's still a decent price.
Can we nail down our naps of the festival outside of handicaps? Just one horse that will win.
Yep.
Above even money.
Go on then, Josh.
Jerry Cologne.
Nice.
Yeah, Jerry Cologne, definitely.
Andrew?
Good land, good people.
Do you know that was a nap that you were going to say that as well? Dan?
Impere Pass. In the
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Okay, I'll go Blood Destiny in the Triumph. Right, that's pretty much it, I think, guys. Thanks very much, everyone, for tuning in. Thanks very much for watching, and thanks indeed to both Let's Talk Racing and The Jump Show for joining on this call. Josh, Andrew, been a pleasure.
That's been fantastic, Bully. I didn't even laugh that much at you. You only got me
Actually,
at the Kim Muir.
Yeah, thanks, mate. I really appreciate it. Right, so yeah, great stuff. And to Dan and to Jake as well on The Jump Show. Let's try and get over that 1,000 subscriber mark, shall we?
Get over 1,000 subscribers, and I imagine the majority of us will be in the Feathered Fish after racing on the Tuesday. Definitely be
Correct.
there. We'll be there after racing.
Correct. Go collect there. Right. Thanks very much, everyone. Enjoy the Cheltenham Festival. Not too long now. The juices are very much flowing. See you all soon.
Cheers, guys.